Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Goaltending, where your why is bigger than your excuses. Today, we have a very special guest joining. Extremely excited to have her here. I'll tell you a little bit more about why here shortly when I introduce her. But we're going to dive into the topic of excuses and also listening to your body, recognizing the difference between excuses and actually taking care of your health. And before we get into that, first, I just want to say thank you for tuning in, allowing us to be a part of your journey. As with every episode, listen and find the takeaways for yourself. So just listening does nothing for you. Listen, find the takeaway, apply action to your life so that you can actually get closer to the goals that you're working toward. With that being said, our guest today, first off, before I even do the official intro, I'm so excited to have her here because we went to college together.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible how things come back around. Obviously, life gets busy, and everybody goes their direction. They're focused on families and stuff like that. But to see people that, from earlier in the journey that are just doing incredible things, becoming incredible parents, doing great things all around, it's awesome to see. So I'm glad that I get to bring you, into this.
So
and so she has received the Rising Star Award and was inducted into the Union Commonwealth University, formerly Union College for us, Hall of Fame for incredible performance as a student athlete in volleyball. And when I say incredible performance, I know at least at the time we said it might have to be double checked now, but was the most winningest volleyball player in Union history, which is extremely impressive with a really talented team. And her ongoing success and contribution to the university was part of earning that award. She has worked at Procter & Gamble over the last 3 years, is currently serving as the senior digital media manager. And then above all, she stands out as a strong wife, a mother, a friend, so much more. Monica Hurd, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. I appreciate the invitation. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. And thank you, because I always think of time as our most valuable asset, right?
Yeah.
And so for you to give your time today to hopefully impact other people's lives, share some of your journey, your thoughts, so that we can make an impact for other people. So thank you.
Likewise.
All right. So first, let's just get into, I highlighted some of the broad accomplishments, but it's been over 13 years since we graduated from school. So many things have happened in that time. So can you just talk a little bit about where you are now and what you're currently working toward?
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of the work side of my life. I have been at Procter & Gamble it'll be 4 years in August, I believe. Working on the largest diaper company in the world, which is wonderful. You get to see a lot of babies, and especially the NICU piece of it. I had a preemie, and so being able to diaper these little babies, it's really special. And so what that means is I buy and lead all of our digital video strategy. So that's really special. It's almost kind of a geeky tech thing, but I really enjoy it. P&G has been a wonderful company. They really take care of their people. So that's probably one of the main reasons I moved up to Cincinnati area from Louisville, was just the opportunity to work in some of those bigger companies. So that's more my work side.
Yeah.
From a personal perspective, I'm still playing volleyball, which is probably my first love.
Yeah.
It's competing with family now. Shh, don't tell my kids.
Oh yeah.
But no, seriously, my very first love was volleyball. And that getting out of my life was not really an option. So I still play very competitively. And then my children, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old boy. Josh, who is my husband, and you played basketball with, which is really cool.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how long you all played on the same team, but
so I was only on varsity 1 year, so I got to practice with him for the couple years I was on the team.
He was probably hurt.
There were some injuries that I remember.
That's how he met me I had a torn ACL and he hurt his back.
Oh.
And so
he hurt his back.
I know. I know. He was like, who tears their ACL? I'm like, who comes to therapy for a back? Anyway, so we've been married it'll be 10 years in October, which is crazy. We've had ups and downs, but a wonderful, wonderful journey. probably the biggest piece that has changed about me is like just my walk in the spiritual lane and stuff along those lines. That has really pushed me to be the human and the mom and the wife that I am today, because probably the last time you saw me, I was wild.
College, we're just gonna...
I don't remember half of it, but that's okay. But no, seriously, that I'm really proud of like that piece of my life, because it has changed me for the better, at least in my opinion. And I'm almost unrecognizable from who I used to be, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that is something that we should all strive for, actually. There's a really important thought that I've had several times. I remember looking back at my high school yearbook and reading comments in there, and so many people make the comment, and maybe sometimes it's generic, sometimes it might actually be a genuine thing, but they're like, don't ever change. And it's meant to be a kind thing. But what I've learned to hope for everybody is that you change significantly. Like, I want you to be, if you're striving for 1% better every single day, you should be unrecognizable like 5-10 years from now. And then think about how incredible it is to look back and know that that person was still a part of you. Like, that's still part of what got you to where you are now. But like, it's incredible to see. So very proud of you on the growth and the continuing to strive for more.
Yeah, that's actually a topic of conversation quite often between Josh and myself, is like, we'll probably get to it later, but like some of the decisions that I have made to better my life, they came at this like, are people still going to like me if I make this change? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later, but that's...
Okay. Great point. We're going to get into all of that, and this will be a part 2 episode because there's so much great content for us to get into. But a big piece of what inspired today's conversation was talking about excuses. So I did a post several months ago, and for me, it had been a long day. I had drill that weekend, so it's also like the weekend, and I know a lot of people are like, weekends, I want to just relax or have fun or play time or whatever. But for me, weekends are just as much work as the weekdays. On weekends that I don't have drill, they're more focused on family time and or working on the personal goals and the personal growth. But that weekend in particular, it was a long drill weekend after a long week of work. And I knew that my results required me to still get a workout in, even though I was tired, even though it was a long weekend. So I went to the gym immediately after work to do my workout. And I was just reflecting on that piece of like, I could have very well made the excuse that it was a long week, that so many things have been going on in life, but I hit the gym anyway because I knew my results required it. And so I posted about that, and then you messaged me and you were like, my excuse is I have the flu. I have the flu. I don't feel good. And so we reflected on that. Like, there's a difference between excuses and taking care of your health. So before we dive deeper into that piece specifically, can you just talk about your experience with excuses and how you overcome them from your own personal perspective?
So as I thought of this kind of question, if you will, my gut said, I don't have excuses. Like, who is that? Like, we don't make excuses in this house, But then I kind of like drilled down to, well, everyone has excuses in some way. What are yours, Monica? And that's a hard question to like settle with yourself.
Right.
And I realized that I have almost in my head redefined what is an excuse versus what is like a justification or a reason. And because excuse has this negative connotation. When you say I'm justifying this or I'm putting like rationale behind something, then it's automatically better. And so that's how I was kind of digesting it in my head, was like, I don't have excuses, I have reasons. So call it what you will. But what I then realized was, I think excuses come from, at least for me, this fear of not being perfect. That is something that I have struggled with for the better or for worse, right? And it's not necessarily perfectionism, because I think perfectionism is someone who needs things to be perfect. I was terrified of being viewed as not as not perfect. You know what I mean? And I love to be considered an expert, the best, like all of these things.
Right.
And so it was this fear of feeling like I wasn't living up to the definition of perfect or whatever. And so I tried to do whatever I could to make sure that I lived up to that. Therefore, that equals no excuses. So, and I always lived by the mindset of like, if your competition is getting, or if you're not getting better today, your competition is.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, being smaller in my sport, someone was always trying to hunt you down, right? To take your spot, to take your whatever. And so I could not allow myself to have excuses. So that's probably like why I've been successful in a lot of my like athletic career, and probably even my like professional career. Is I allowed myself to not have excuses, but sometimes there are reasons to take pause on certain things.
Right. So with that, like one of the reasons being very specifically, like if you're like sick, you know, that's a reason to take a break, like to listen to your body, to take care of yourself. There's also such thing as overtraining, which 100%. Can cause injuries, and then you hurt yourself and set yourself back more. So how have you dealt with recognizing the two, the difference between the excuses and the reasons?
I think everything in life, and this is no exception, you have to understand what your intention is in everything. There is intentionality of why you felt like you needed to make sure that you hit that workout, even when you had a stressful work week or even weekend or whatever. You said, I'm assuming, this is my outlet. If I have the intention of X, if I'm going to hit that goal, then I need to keep going. And so you realized that there was an excuse that you could have used. If from an intentionality standpoint, if everything you do is trying to get better, you have to like self-reflect. Am I sick or am I making an excuse? And is the intention to make myself better? And if it is resting going to make me better? And sometimes that is the case. I have been the one where it's like, what do you mean there's a rest day in the week? Like, we run on rest days, right? Like, no, Monica, especially as you get older, and especially for women, like our hormones and the things that just happen in our bodies, you have to give yourself a break, or you're going to be in fight or flight all the time. And that's not good.
Absolutely. So correct me if I'm wrong. This is going off of memory from over 13 years ago.
Oh, Lord.
But also I want to speak to people in that similar place, like back in college, whenever you're having a little bit more fun, you know, probably having drinks on the weekend, but you're still trying to compete at a high level. I feel like I remember, and tell me if I'm wrong, or if I need to cut this, if you did have some drinks, went to a party, the next day on a Sunday, you were in the gym trying to work it off because you knew we've got practice tomorrow and I'm not going to practice this way.
100%. Like there's that age old sweat it out kind of mentality. And I probably did that quite a bit. It's almost like, what's the saying? You can't out exercise a bad diet. You know what I mean?
I'll try.
You can try all you want. But like, and I think when you're young, and I absolutely benefited from being young in that situation and like being able to bounce back really quickly. As I've gotten older, like that, just walk it off or run it out or lift it out, whatever. It was no longer just like a quick workout that would make me feel better. It was like days of recovering. And then that's, again, we'll probably talk the alcohol piece later, but that was the hardest part, is realizing my workouts really suck when I have too much fun on the weekends. And if my intention and my goal is to get better in all of these areas, I'm like self, destructing
Right.
my goal. And like, who wants to do that? You would be so furious if
Mm-hmm.
someone was standing in between you and your goal.
Oh yeah.
You were doing it to yourself. Take it out.
Mm.
Take it out. So
That's a good point.
yeah.
Getting out of your own way.
Get out of your own way.
I like that.
Yeah. I'd run somebody over if they were in my way.
Right.
Why am I in my own way? Life is hard enough.
You got to take yourself out.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that is in people's way is that sometimes it's more comfortable to lean into the excuse, you know? And one of the things that I reflected on a lot is that we, in our mind, we have the side that wants to reach our goal.
Yeah.
And we have the side that wants us to live in comfort. Mm-hmm. That's trying to avoid the discomfort to keep us feeling safe. Like it's meant to make us feel safe, but it's not helping us reach our goal.
Yeah.
And what's really scary is that person knows everything to say to you.
Yeah.
To get you to live in your comfort. They know everything to say to you to try to prevent you from reaching your goal, like self-sabotaging yourself. Mm-hmm. So have you felt that specifically? And can you reflect on how do you overcome the part of you that wants you to live in your comfort?
Yeah, that's such a great point. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal a whole lot with it, only because I have always been that let me say it this way. There are a lot of people who say I'm competing with X, like X person on either on the team or on opposing team or whatever. I want to be better than them. Mm-hmm. I have been very lucky for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's in my blood, it's in my genes. It has always been, I want to be better than who I was yesterday. And I know that's cliche, but it's so true. I never had someone that I was trying to beat. It was always myself. Mm. So for the person that does feel that way that you were describing, of someone who's trying to battle the inner self, as you could call it, is take the steps in a very, very small way. Because a lot of times we think, especially social media, we see someone on social media doing X workout, eating the right things, doing all these things, and they have this tiny little waist and these cut whatever. Yeah. And we think, oh man, I will never be able to get that. So why should I even start? Right. And that's that inner self saying, you'll never be this way. You're never going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Even if you don't know that that's what your inner self is saying, that's what your inner self is saying. Yeah. And so the only way to move forward and to start pushing that little inner self conversation away is to take very small steps. Mm-hmm. Know that that person who you're watching didn't get like that overnight. Right. And one step forward is better than staying stagnant. So that's the advice that I would give for someone that's just kind of infiltrated with those thoughts.
Yeah. In Atomic Habits, he talks about making micro adjustments in your habits. Yeah. That's exactly that. But I also really like the piece that you said about, I think, focusing on the only person that you're really competing against is yourself. Yeah. It's just you as your opponent. Mm-hmm. And so in recognizing that, how do I overcome that? How do I beat this person?
Well, what I realized is no one cares. No one cares, right? Right. No one cares if you are in the gym. Mm-hmm. No one cares if you are successful with whatever your goal is. The only person that cares, or that should care, is you. And so stop competing with other people. Stop thinking that I want to be X influencer. I want to, I want to look like this person. I want to, whatever the thing is, and realize that if you want to envision yourself versus aspiring to be someone else, what does it look like when you are in your healthiest weight or physique or performance or whatever the thing is you're doing? Visualize yourself so that you're always aspiring to be your better self versus someone else.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. That's really good. Yeah. All right. So I want to get into, we mentioned alcohol briefly. Yeah. And we're on the overcoming excuses piece. So you had a post
I did.
on social media, and it spoke to me significantly because at that time I was 1 month into not drinking. So I had just started.
Yeah.
And but what you posted about is that you had started with I think committing to a month of no alcohol.
Yeah.
And you felt the effects, and you ended up committing, and you made it a year with no alcohol.
Yeah.
And we're just reflecting on I never saw myself being in this place, you know? At this time now I'm at 5 months, no alcohol.
I was going to ask, but I didn't want to.
I'm at 5 months right now.
That's amazing.
So my wife and I committed to a year. And we said we're for sure, we're not drinking for a year. I can't promise that I won't ever have a drink again. But it was more about showing ourselves that we have control. Alcohol does not control us. And we feel incredible. But I would love to hear about more on your journey of how you felt in that process. Why did you commit to a month at first? Why did you end up going longer? All of that.
Okay. So it was October 6th, 2023. I had just a bad experience with alcohol, which I've had many of those in my life, in my college career. But I don't know, this one hit different. Nothing bad happened. It was just something inside of me was I really do not like the way I felt. I didn't like the way that I was thinking. I didn't, to your point of control, I'm a type A.
No.
So alcohol has always been my being able to release and be okay with not having control. Right. But for whatever reason that day, I did not like having control over what I thought, what I said, what I did, etc. So our anniversary is on October 10th. And so I had not told Josh yet that I was taking a step away from alcohol. And so I walk in and he has these beautiful flowers and a bottle of wine and all the things. And I was like, happy anniversary. This is so great. But I was terrified to say, I'm going to remove myself or remove alcohol from my life. At that time, because once you say it, it's real. Yeah. And I am not someone who doesn't go through with what they say. And again, if it comes out of my mouth, it's going to happen.
Right.
And so I was trying to right size my expectation because I've done a dry January and I was I can do a month.
Right.
Easy peasy. Right. And so
in the fall too. In the fall.
I know.
Fall is.
I know. Crazy. And so I said a month, and I just thought, if I can get through a month, see how I feel. I always in the back of my mind knew that I wanted it gone. Yeah. But I didn't want to say it out loud because then you start making excuses. I would fail. If I said a year and I failed, that's the worst. You don't fail. It's really hard for me to fail. Yeah.
Nobody wants to accept that.
Yeah. And definitely if I say it to other people and they know I failed, again, that fear of not being perfect, right? That comes into play. So the excuse piece is, I unfortunately think I right-sized that too much because then I gave myself an excuse if I wanted out. Yeah. Oh, it's a month. Good job, Monica. Drink. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I needed to eventually say, no, I think this is going to be a for real thing. Never touch it again kind of thing. So yeah, we're almost on 2 years. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Crazy. My God. I'm a different person.
That's so incredible. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Same to you.
For real. I'm only 5 months in.
Hey, one day at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does feel incredible. I feel like I have more mental clarity 100%. Than I have ever had. I feel like I'm able to be a better and more present father.
That's it.
Because if I didn't have drinks on Friday or Saturday night, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I feel better in the morning getting up with the kids and responding and being more emotionally intelligent. Yeah. in being a better husband and like in the way that we communicate, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's easier to say something stupid if you've, been drinking,
Oh yeah.
not think about your thoughts at all and just like say the first thing that comes to mind that
Yeah.
is not the right thing to say.
Yeah.
So
filter is gone.
Yeah, filter's gone. And so that has felt incredible. I think one of the things that was scariest for me was thinking about like friendships and relationships
100%.
and how does this impact this, because typically we're getting together with friends on the weekend, and typically we're having drinks together.
100%.
And so how does this impact our social life? Like, do our friends still want to hang out with us if we're not drinking? But then you come to the like, are they our friends if they don't want to hang out with us if we're not drinking?
That's it.
Is that what it is? I will think ahead and I'm like, but normally I have a drink to celebrate with my father-in-law for our anniversary.
Yeah.
And that's a special thing. Like, it's not about the drinking so much as it is like a connection and a celebrating of something. But then I had to reframe how I think about it.
Yeah.
It's not the alcohol that makes our relationship strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that reframing the way that you think about different situations is what's been the most impactful for that piece of the journey.
That's the piece of like, why does it have to be alcohol is really important too, right? Because like, why does what's in your cup make that connection stronger or like more or less useful, if that makes sense, or special? And what we noticed as a couple is like, we don't really eat out anyway because we just don't like how food is prepared in other outside of our kitchen. We're like big into the whole seed oil and all that crap stuff. But every kind of celebration, date nights, etc., revolve around eating and drinking.
Yeah.
And so it was like this weird, when we had the opportunity to go out as a couple, it would be like, well, what do you want to do?
Same.
It's so weird. You're like, everything revolves around alcohol or eating. And I always tell my kids this from like a food perspective. We call sweets treats sometimes. And so they'd be like, oh, I got all A's or whatever. Do I get a treat? I'm like, you're not a dog. Why do you need a treat? So same thing with alcohol is like, why are we celebrating with something that actually makes us depressed and dehydrates our body and like is literal poison? Like, why? Marketing did a great job. Why is this how we celebrate each other and like come together? So I know there's like this big kick around non-alcoholic drinks and stuff like that. So like, I love that, but still that there's this connection. Yeah. And alcohol or non-alcoholic drinks are more expensive than alcohol. I don't know if you've noticed.
We have, because we've definitely been trying the non-alcoholic drinks and stuff.
They're good.
There are some, we try to get ones that are health oriented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like something with antioxidants in it, or magnesium, or having a drink with magnesium in it before bed to make sure that like we're getting good supplements for our body, So it is taking the alcohol away, replacing it with something that's healthier for our bodies.
I will say what I noticed when I very first removed alcohol was I still had the same binging behaviors, but I changed it from alcohol to sweets or some kind of other hand to mouth connection. Okay. And it took a whole, like a couple months for me to say like, it wasn't the alcohol, Monica. It's this like weird hand to mouth connection that you have to, like, you're okay to watch television without putting something in your mouth. It's okay. But then, and I wanted to circle back on your point of like nervous that friends or even your spouse, like I really admire the fact that you and your spouse did it together. And you made an intention around it together. I did it by myself. Josh is like on the train, but will still dabble here and there, which is his journey, and that's totally fine. But I was terrified going back to the anniversary that, like, oh my gosh, am I still going to be fun for him?
Yeah.
Is he still going to like what I have to say?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know who I was when I would have too many drinks. Like, I don't remember what I was saying. Like,
Right.
people had to have liked me because I had quote unquote friends, I had to be saying something funny or like interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what if that goes away? What if I'm not cool or fun? And I got invited to a Jack Harlow concert like a month after I said no. And I was terrified that I was going to be the dud. Instead, I was having a blast, the DD, and I got to see everybody else act full. So it was great.
Yeah. No, I think it's just all about reframing, finding new ways to approach things. You also mentioned when we talk about a date night, it was a big struggle because we were like,
what do we do?
What do we do? Because it's food and drink oriented all the time. And we've started finding different ways to approach, dates. How do we find like a fun activity we can do together? We still we'll find good restaurants. The food is still there. Or like grabbing coffee together and trying different coffee shops, like different things. But it does require you to have to think more, to look for new things to replace that with in those situations.
And find hobbies. It allows us to have the conversation of, can we learn something new together? Can we do something that we've never, we're really not interested in, but what if it was actually really fun? I don't know.
So with that, we're going to make this the end of part one.
Okay.
Because there's so much more for us to talk about. Before we cut this off, though, in relation to the overcoming excuses and the alcohol journey, specifically related to those things, what kind of advice would you give to the younger version of yourself?
I would probably say keep going. And it's not necessarily don't listen to other people telling you no. It's don't listen to that inner self that has anything negative to say. And again, this is cliche, but really the sky is the limit. And the sky and the limit is all based off of your intention. So having intention in everything is really important. And the reason I say that is because I never had goals growing up. It was just keep going. The grind. And whatever comes to me, I accept, versus having intentionality and setting those goals. So set some goals.
Right. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. What is the, is there anything you'd like to promote or a good way for people to connect with you?
I have Instagram, Monica Jean 55, but I don't sell anything. I don't do anything along those lines. I'm super into health. So I post a lot of things that are happening in the political landscape with health and stuff like that, if anyone's interested. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time, for sharing your journey, your experience, the lessons you've learned in life. Thank you all for tuning in, allowing us to be a part of your journey. Make sure that you go like, subscribe, comment with your thoughts and questions to join the conversation, and let's grow.